Not a problem. Not a problem. Quite happy to front up after mouthing off preview pods about how it's should take the result the other night and know that the performances are going to get better, and you kind of just mince about, acting all like the big I am after a good European result, and then fail to turn up when the bread and butter stuff gets a bit harder, when it feels like it's after the Lord Mayor's show and you can't get a lot of new visitors. Right, okay, they'll try and get folk that don't usually tune in, probably tuned in just now as Morrisons Car Park. I started in Morrisons Car Park today. I was driving along Great Western Road. I just nipped round there. I just need to get a few more supplies. At 5:30 kick-off is weird. And I'm driving up the access road, Herschel Street. I've done podcasts, a lot of the post-match reaction pods. I talk about Herschel Street in Anniesland, just to the one side of the Gennaro's side of the bridge. The Gennaro's is on Great Western Road, but if you in Anniesland Station's just above it. But if you go round the corner at Gennaro's, if you take the right hand turn there, like if you were heading towards Anniesland Cross, the first on your right, it's just there's so much going on in that wee street, and there's so much scariness. There's all sorts of religious iconography and stuff, and I always think about it when things go badly. But I was driving up the other day in the blistering sunshine. I could see folk at the bus stop. Obviously the trains were all getting cancelled and all that. Folk were piling out of Anniesland Station towards the bus stops, and it was really sunny, and I thought, maybe there's some sort of concert on or something. That's why there's a big crowd. I don't know what was happening. But it could be quite tight, that wee road. It's not a comfortable road. I should just carry on and just go up Anniesland Cross and go in the other way. But you know what it's like, you want to get the supplies in and get yourself back for the Sky coverage starting. You don't want to waste any time. It was only about 4 o'clock and it was going to start at 5, the Sky coverage. So I'm going up there. The wee road, just a 2-lane road, and there's a guy driving, I kid you not, and it's a blue car as well. It's a big blue 4x4. There's a guy driving down my side of the road. It's a 2-lane road. He's obviously, and I know why. When I come back out, I'm so used to coming out that road myself, but when I come back out it after I've done my shop, it does look a bit like it's splitting. There's a wee island bit just as you turn back onto the road, the exit road, and it splits in two, and the kind of road markings makes you think it's just an exit road one way that's splitting into two to let twice as much traffic go down. You could think that. I didn't know that at the time. I'm not used to anybody thinking that way. I'm local. Everybody knows how to drive up, and I just think there's a guy driving towards me. He's driving towards me down the right, and he just kind of looked, and he just, fair enough, he instantly realised he was in the wrong, and he gave me a wee wave and that, and it's quite a difficult bit to rewind. So I was going to reverse back up, so I was kind of laughing and going, okay, we've all had taken a days, mate, but I thought, there's a big blue car heading straight towards me down the wrong side of the road. This wasn't the Lemmy thing of wrong way down a one-way street. This was the wrong way down a two-way street, the wrong lane down a two-way street. It's just, I don't know, one lane's Europe, one lane's domestic football. I don't know what was happening, but it was going to crash right into me, and you get a bit superstitious when these games. I thought, I'm not talking about it. Just in Morrisons, and I only wanted bread, a couple of tins of soup. I fancied some chocolate as well, and I had enough crisps. I thought, I'm not going to eat any more crisps. I had them. I'd got them in on Thursday. Just the Golden Wonder, the cheese and onion, and time was it's a long way to go. Needed milk and eggs. I definitely run out of eggs. And I went up to the bread aisle. I had most of the stuff I wanted, and I got myself up to the bread aisle. You only need a hand basket for that, so I was trying to be as quick as possible to get back around in time for the Fitbit. I might get a wee bit of late lunch into me before the Fitbit starts, because it's a strange kick-off time. It's no, on a Saturday especially, it's too early for your dinner, and it's too late for lunch. So I'm get to the bread aisle, and I just want the cheap. Is it £1? It's 70 odd pence. I can't remember the own brand's brown loaf, and there's a fella standing a few years older than myself, but a lot trimmer, obviously looking very trim. He's just standing there, and he's looking at his phone in the basket, and I'm loath to say excuse me or go in. I'm trying to see, I'm 24 stone, so it's difficult to just slip in there and grab it while he's without disturbing him. And there's a woman standing a bit further up, and she's a bit older than me as well, but she's as kind of mobile as he's immobile, and she's actually dancing to the PA system, the tannoy, the songs that the music, but it's no music these days, isn't it? I mean, was it the Jam are doing, and I can't remember what Jam song it is, but it's Sainsbury's. They're providing the music for Sainsbury's. It's one of the things realising you're old that they've got like Joy Division playing as the background music in Morrisons. No, and sometimes I'll walk along and I find myself singing away, and I suddenly realise this is one of my favourite songs of all time, and it's playing, as a background music in Morrisons. So she was jigging away while looking for pancakes or cakes the other side of the aisle, and then I go, what am I going to do here? I don't want to, She looks like she's going to grab me and start dancing or something like that. I'm just not in the mood for that kind of stuff. But then she turned around and starts talking. They were together. They were together, and she's saying, "What is it? What is it?" And he's like, "It was a Google message. It was a message for Google, And that's where I'm heading. That's how the day feels. So just kind of somebody's really worked up, excited. Somebody's really kind of taciturn and depressed, and neither of them are really getting what they want. And I go to the loaf, and I down there, and I just started thinking. So I get back in the car. What set me off was the wee pound, the wee token that's shaped like a pound. It's got a trolley pattern on it, a wee imprint. Looks like it's quite neatly made. And I've got it in my new car, and it must be like 3 years since I've had to put to get your trolley. If you're doing a big shop, a lot of supermarkets used to have so folk when they steal them, you have to put a pound into a thing, and they're all joined together. You need to be pound to get, and you get the pound back when you bring. I think Morrisons Anniesland stopped that years ago, but I've still got that, and it's in the new car. We got that car in October, but yet we've taken the pound, like old folk, like proper old folk. We just like nobody might bring it back. We go to sometimes we go to be self-catering places down south, and you go for a big shop. But if we go to a local shop, my Morrisons down south, and you can't. They don't. There's different for up here, and they've got a. You need the pound thing, and we've got the token, because you don't need cash that much these days. Especially COVID just brought that right home. Contactless payments. Nobody takes cash anymore, and I never seem to have cash on me because I never need it these days. So nobody's got a pound coin on them. Anytime you get a pound coin, you're using that for tips. At the few places you can actually. So we're putting in the new car because we're old. Don't let that go. Like old folk know wanting to throw out stuff, and the voucher, the receipt I've got, it's got the vouchers on it. It's got the actual vouchers that used to get out the wee grey machine that's just above the checkout, the self-service checkout still feels pretty new to me as a concept. It used to be in a supermarket. I'm not too old. I'm not so old that I remember a time before supermarkets, but it was always, even going with my mum and all that when I was a wee boy. You always went through a checkout, and that was part of the supermarket thing. And then they brought in. It feels like it's like cash lines. I remember when cash lines became a thing. But here and then you get the grey thing. The vouchers would get spat out when you use your More card, and I've got my wee More card. I always take that to Morrisons, and it would it would spit it out, and I'm always like, any time at the end it says, "No, take away your receipt and your vouchers." So I'd always look up at the wee voucher machine, and they make that wee cranking noise now to come the voucher. But now the vouchers, if you get any, I don't know what it is, bonuses for your loyalty, you get bonuses for your loyalty. There are some places that repay your loyalty. It's on the receipt now, and the receipt itself's coming out at your buzz. Basically, it used to be the receipt. I'm like, where's the receipt? It's telling me on the big screen. It's telling me the receipt. The receipt used to come out there, just kind of chest height or whatever. And now it's like it's hit me right in the gonads, and sometimes forget that it's even there, because when's the last time you actually did anything doing that? And it's got a screen. So I don't know if that's so they don't have to, but they keep IDing me. Anytime they ID you, anytime you're getting bevy in the place. But I don't know what they've got these screens. Is that to cut down on security? But there's security guards in. They employ security guards anyway in Morrisons, but you can see yourself. You can see your fat old face in these screens as you're doing your self-service shop, and you're waiting for a voucher that's coming out. Something it's not even and I'm thinking I'm thinking it's quite slick having my contactless, my cards, and and there's folk next to me just get their phone out, and they've got their More card on their phone. And even that's getting, folk have got the stuff in their watch now, and I think there's folk, you get the things at the glasses, so basically it's in their eyes. I just feel as if I'm constantly lagging behind in life and never really kind of catching up. You feel as if easeful death is, I'm trailing behind. you're just trailing behind all the time. The Rangers never get too new for me. They never get too far ahead. They keep doing the same old thing, don't they, Rangers? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I was less on top of my shit as a 14-year-old as I am as a 56-year-old. And was it 1983, 1984? I just remember, I don't know if I'd been away on holiday. Well, with my mum and dad, but me to do the internet. It was only 3 or 4 channels by that time, just on the television. Like my uncle, no, half my family, sorry, a couple of members of my family, close members of the family, are in like a Rangers supporters club. My uncle was a secretary of the supporters club. So I knew, I was right in there when it came to getting tickets for Rangers games. Maybe they'd been on holiday as well. I'd already been to a few Rangers games. When I feel like 7 years old, I went to my first Rangers game. So it's not like I wasn't keeping up with stuff, getting Shoot magazine, getting Match magazine, or get my Rangers news. That was always getting delivered for years and years. But for some reason, I remember this switching on the radio in a Saturday afternoon during what I thought was the summer, like today. I mean, today's just the first weekend of August. And it was a beautiful sunny day. And it just me and my sister in the house. And I switched on the radio and it was Radio Clearout. And Rangers had just scored against Celtic at Hampden, Sandy Clark. It was a Glasgow Cup final. In the days we could still have the Glasgow Cup final at Hampden, it was like a senior game. If you're my age, you'll remember the Glasgow Cup final. It was never a major tournament. It was never a major cup. It was obviously very local. And it wasn't always the Old Firm in the Glasgow Cup final. But some seasons it was a bigger deal than others, depending how sponsors and things like that were feeling, or how the teams themselves were feeling. But you could get like 40, 50,000 turning up at these games. It's either the summer of 83 or the summer of, I think it's summer of 84 perhaps. Sandy Clark scores the only goal of the game. And I've seen pictures of it since then, I would imagine. But I always have this image of me actually being able to see Sandy Clark. I think we've just changed our strip, so it must be 84, 85 to the crew neck strip. But it looks super light blue, and the sun shining on it. And Sandy Clark's delighted because he just scored in an Old Firm. There's a big crowd at Hampden for this game. I didn't even know it was taking place. It's that kind of in media res thing. We just turn up and suddenly the Fitbis sucks you into it and it's Rangers, and my heart was singing. I wasn't giving it, I'm not on top of this, I don't know who's signed for us, and nobody tell me this game was getting played. I wasn't even that bothered. But there's an Old Firm game going at Hampden and I'm no there. I didn't care. It was suddenly this summer of doing all the really interesting things I was doing during the summer. Obviously going to be on holiday with my folks, but it was just Rangers were back, and before that, I remember my sister coming in, we'd been like maybe talking in the kitchen or something. I got into the living room and I stuck on it was on Clyde or Radio Scotland or something. And I'm starting to suss out what's happening. Is this a football match? I think this is talking about Rangers. Scored against Celtic, what the hell? And you couldn't just go and put on Sky Sports News or check your phone or check your laptop and to find out what you had to listen to find out. My dad probably had a Daily Record or something like that, so I would maybe go in there and check the small print, see what was happening. I don't know what happened that I didn't know, but it was brilliant. I just got totally subsumed by Rangers, and I couldn't have cared less. And I was like, we were crap. We were really crap. Back in the kind of early to mid 80s. This is well before Soonest arrived, a couple of seasons before all that took place. But the sheer joy of the season starting and it just being Rangers. Doesn't matter what happened, as long as I've got Rangers, I know about everything. I know I've got all the context, I've got all the explanations, I know all the fixtures, I've got it, we've all got our social media, we've all got Rangers emailing us on a daily basis, and telling us how much money they're going to take off our account. It's going to come out your account. You've got just turn up at the game, it's getting sent it by email, get your ticket for a European Cup game, is what I called it back in the day, and you now get to see more games in Europe by the end of August than you used to for a whole season. That would get you, like, if you're getting to the semi-finals and stuff like that. But anybody, it was a story. So just the joys still, I still feel that joy when Rangers are playing. When I come back from Berlin, the old man thing. You start to get confused. You maybe remember? I don't remember. There wasn't any TV pictures, obviously, that game. Sandy Clark scores, but the memory plays tricks on you because you've obviously seen pictures subsequently, still pictures of it. And I remember the sun shining in Ardrossan, and I listened to it on the radio, and the sun was shining at Hampden, and somehow I feel as if I can actually see the goal being scored on a wee handset radio back in the day. And that's what you build up pictures, and you have mental pictures, and you see pictures that didn't actually exist. You feel you've got a memory of them. I come back from Berlin a few weeks back, went to Berlin for a week, 4th time I've been to Berlin. wonderful city, and you feel super cool. You feel all Bowie and Iggy and you know, Spycraft and Tinker Tailor and all that kind of stuff. What a place! What a place Berlin is. And you feel kind of chilled, and you get back to the house on the Friday, and the taxi driver's been really nice. Nothing spoiled the holiday at all, even at the back end, and you haven't been broken into, and that the house is absolutely fine. And you've got beers in the fridge. You put them in there before you left, and you sit down, and it's Blondie. It's Blondie's 80th birthday. Debbie Harry's 80th birthday. Sorry. And I've been to CBGB's as well. I went to CBGB's and didn't get served. That sums me up. I think that's something that actually sums up my entire. I went to CBGB's, so I know about the hip stuff. I've been really close. I've been in. I didn't get served. And that time, the first time I was in New York, they didn't. And I thought, well, that's punk. That's really punk. You go to CBGB's, don't get served. But it was Blondie's 80th birthday on that Friday, just a few weeks ago, that I get back. Debbie Harry's 80th birthday, and they were having a Debbie Harry Blondie night on BBC Four or BBC. They just want to sit and have a few beers and chill and watch some music and something to watch on the telly, but also it's nothing too taxing. And it was a wee compilation stuff, Debbie Harry or Blondie at the BBC, and a wee documentary and stuff that had been on before, probably for her 70th birthday. So we just sat and watched that, having a wee drink and unwinding after a day of travelling back from Germany. And I thought, do you know what? We've got this wall. No, it's a feature wall, folk call it, whatever it is. Since we moved in here, we've done nothing with the place because the folk that the Celtic days had the place all done up. And there's this one wall, there's nothing on it. And the guys from Virgin Media come in to staple stuff to bought. I was like, oh Christ, that's kind of ruining that. I like the blankness of that wall. The place where we were renting before that was really cluttered with the landlord stuff and all that, and it was all really old stuff. So it was this kind of, this is just really nice and spacious and clear, and everything's kind of, so we've got telly and all that in the place, and in the living room and a couple of sofas sit there, and I've got the wall behind me. You've got a few things up in the wall, kind of pictures and all that we take for other houses and wee things and that. But there's this big wall, which I think you would probably call your feature wall, but it's featureless for us, and we like it. There's a wee alcove to the right hand side that you can put, there's a lamp in there and stuff, and the telly's to the left hand side. It says no zip, but we just quite enjoy the fact it's. But we think we should get something up there. We should get like proper arts. There's something that really sums us up. That kind of statement thing you get up near. It's a statement wall. Maybe that's what it is. And nothing had we could never think anything, And it's me and my missus, and then we're watching the Debbie Harry thing, and I'm like, oh, I've got it. What we can do. This is just because my wife loves Blondie. She loves Debbie Harry. She thinks Debbie Harry's the most beautiful. Certainly the most beautiful pop star, rock star she's ever known. She's just. She thinks she's beautiful when she was at her height and all that, blah, blah, blah. And obviously the music's sensational, a lot of it, Blondie. And I'm like, but it's showing you, and I remember that we've got a book upstairs of photographs of Blondie. It's some photographer, photojournalist that worked with them, went on tour with them, and they kind of, at their peak really, they're getting really big in the late 70s into the early 80s. I can't remember the name of it, but it's just lots of text, lots of prose, but it's more than just captions to the pictures, but lots and lots of pictures, and a lot of it features her on tour in Scotland. And one of the, I think it was when they always show, is it Atomic? They do at a place I never went to. What do you call it? The iconic Glasgow venue that's no longer there. Jesus, my brain's gone. That's really, I'm an old man. You're shouting it at the phone, but that's I've been to the Barrowlands and that, but the other one, the one in the old days that's no longer there anyway. The most famous Glasgow kind of concert venue for gigs in the 70s and 80s anyway, and she's in there doing, it was a show at New Year or Hug Me Near, whatever they end up, they have guys, and she's wearing kind of pink and yellow, this outfit. I mean, that's the Rosebery colours. She's wearing the Rosebery colours, the traditional Scotland, the Earl of Rosebery, whatever he was. He was a gay guy, but he married a woman who was, I think she might have been gay as well, but she was certainly, it was a marriage of convenience, and the two of them going great, and he backed the SFA, and he became patron of the SFA, he was Prime Minister for a wee while. He was nearly involved, I think it's involved with, what do you call him, the guy, the Marcus, the Queensberry rules, the Marcus of Queensberry, whose son, is the Oscar Wilde affair and all that, and they thought he was going to get pulled into it as well, because he was involved with the Marcus of Queensberry's boys, who were, who, they like the cock, and that's fine at the time, but they weren't allowed to come out and do that kind of thing in the days. It wasn't, you weren't allowed to talk about it, which was just totally unfair. Just folk want to enjoy themselves, they're all adults. But he's a guy, he's a patron of the Scotland team, that's how sometimes play with and Hearts. It was his racing colours, the colours. He was a great sportsman. And I'm thinking, Debbie Harry's wearing that at, that famous Scottish venue, and it was on Hogmanay. She's wearing the colours, the Rosebery colours. I thought, that's good, that's really... And it suddenly hit me. Yeah, that book. We've got a book where she's sitting. She's sitting, and the guy's taking photographs of her in a hotel. It's a central hotel at Central Station, looking out that window. She can sit in the windowsill and she's looking down Hope Street. She's looking down Hope Street, and it's black and white shot. And that's your icon. And the greatest ever for me in my field of things like football, what I love, is Maradona. And there's that famous picture of Maradona in the Central Hotel when he comes to Scotland. He comes to Glasgow and he plays at Hampden. Don't get me into that. My dad no take me to that game. I was 10-year-old and he scored his first goal. I went to his first game as manager at Hampden, against Scotland, Diego, because he went to go back to the place that he loved so much, and he scored his first international goal. It was against Scotland at Hampden. My dad says it's the greatest team he's ever seen in his life, the greatest performance he's ever seen in the flesh. But why don't take me then? Why don't take me? I was 10. I could have appreciated that. You and Michael just wanted to get wrecked. Sat in the Celtic end, on the roof in the Celtic end. The sun was belting down, and you've got Maradona and Lukey and Kempes and all these guys. All right, don't mind about it. But there's that photograph of him sitting, in the Central Hotel, looking down over Hope Street. And he's got his wee kind of half Indian, half European face, as Hugh McIlvanney called it. And you're like, that's it. So I'll get Maradona, we get the same photograph, and we'll go and see somebody about getting it printed or whatever. We'll get them both maybe in the same frame, or get two separate frames. We'll put it on our feet, and that's us. This is our house. That's our feature. We've been sitting for 3 years trying to work out. It's going to be. And there's no such picture of Debbie Harry. I went up to, I got the book, I ran upstairs and I got, a couple of beers, I got the book and I went through it, and there's lots of black and white photographs of Debbie Harry and Blondie in Glasgow, and in different parts of the city centre. I'm sure they're outside the art school as well, but there'll be bits of Glasgow that aren't there anymore, obviously. And I think there's pictures of them inside hotel rooms in black and white, in Glasgow hotel rooms, and it says, before they play the Apollo, Glasgow Apollo. Just beat a Greek team, John, who can't get Apollo. But there's no picture there sitting in the back. I've just confused the two things. That picture of Maradona means so much to me that I've just confused Debbie Harry as being in that, having done the exact same pose, and I think maybe Russell Martin, if he's got a feature wall, he will have a picture of Leon Britton. He's probably got a kind of stylised picture, the icon type picture, the Pantocrator, like instead of Christ the Pantocrator. There's an artist locally doing that kind of stuff, Robbie Burns, Susie Sue, but with the kind of the gold disc behind it, the iconic, the orthodox style of artwork, the icons you get in the Orthodox Church. But there's probably somebody. I think for Russell Martin it would be Leon Britton. I don't mean Leon Britton, the former Conservative Home Secretary. I mean Leon Britton, the Scouse midfielder, who's an absolute legend at Swansea City and who played there in two different spells for 10 years, more than that probably. Apparently a really small guy. I don't remember seeing him play there or anything like that, but he seems to mean a lot to my mate who supports Swansea City, and he wrote about Leon Britton and how Leon Britton was stunned that Roberto Martinez, when he played for Swansea, he would, a short spell playing for Swansea at the end of his career, he would room with Leon Britton, and Leon Britton was done like he would read books. Roberto Martinez would read books. Now, he's obviously going to be a bit of a genius if he could actually read. This was a thing, more of a comment on just the British football and culture at the time. This would be in the 90s. And Leon Britton gets mentioned by Russell Martin in that Stephen Gerrard's. Sorry, it's not Stephen. It's that's me giving away what I actually think Russell Martin's going to do in that Goal Hanger, Gary Lineker production, the Goal Hanger Productions, the Rest is Football, and there's an interview just after, because foreign managers are allowed to be really wacky and refuse to budge tactically when they come over here. But an Englishman who played for Scotland, you know what I mean? But he's actually refusing to change things, even though obviously he's going to get Southampton relegated. That's crazy. But let's get this guy in while he's between football jobs, because he seems really interesting. And what an interview it was, and I watched it watched it twice actually since it was announced since it became clear that he was going to become Russell Martin was going to become our head coach, and the intensity coming off him, and he's talking about his ideas, and Leon Britton features. So he used to play against, and the guys up against today, and the Motherwell manager is a former teammate of Russell Martin's. They played together in League One at Norwich, and they played against Swansea in League One, and Russell Martin would go on to manage Swansea. They played against Swansea in the Championship, and he would talk about, and I think he played against them, though it's for Norwich. Russell Martin played against Swansea and against Leon Britton. I think maybe it was at Peterborough. He played for some of the clubs he played for initially before he went to Norwich, and he talks about how, because Russell Martin's a centre half, but when he was younger he was a defensive midfielder as well, and Leon Britton was an attacking midfielder until Roberto Martinez became Swansea manager. So we'd go up. He said, I used to have this physical thing. We just go up and have a right ding dong all the time with me and Leon Britton, and then Roberto Martinez takes over. And I can't find him. I can't see him anywhere in the park. It's like he's gone. He's on different parts of the park, and he's running the show for Swansea. And my mate Hugh, who wrote the book about Swansea, he's saying how that's exactly what Roberto Martinez did. He knew that Leon Britton wasn't so good at running straight, at the front of midfield because of his slight size. He could get knocked off the ball and what have you. But just let him sit back a bit and pick his spaces, pick his moments, and all that. And I think, and that's. The way Russell Martin spoke about that, I thought that's had such a massive effect on him. He's realised the tiki-taka thing is going. We're at Fir Park today. Roberto Martinez played for Motherwell, but at Fir Park, what a place for him to start. Have his first domestic game in charge of Rangers. Russell Martin, Hamilton Aki said that Rubiales, the guy who's ruined the last time Spain did beat England in a major women's international final. But Motherwell had Roberto Martinez, who's just won. He had Belgium finishing third in the World Cup, and he's just won the Nations League with Portugal in an epic final against Spain in Munich there at the start of the summer. And that's the guy that Russell Martin. That's how he wants to play the game. That's how he's learned so much. That's I think where he became convinced, became a convert about tiki-taka or variations of tiki-taka, about possession football, about keeping the ball, and it's quite a thing that he goes back there today for his first domestic game in charge of Rangers, the biggest club he'll ever manage, and hopefully the most successful spell he'll have as manager. Maybe not, we want to manage somebody even more successful. Go back to England, obviously, because they've got the money, and that means he's been majorly successful here. But certainly the biggest club he's managed so far. And he goes back to, how you doing, folks? Welcome to your FATEC immediate post. Rangers have scored a goal in the first half for the first time this season in 3 competitive matches. We've set the template for 1 each away from home, so I'm hoping it's going to be 2-0 at home, so get a tenner on us beating Pilsen 2-0. That's the template so far in competitive matches. Win 2-0 at home, draw 1 each away from home, and we've scored a goal, as I say, for the first time in 3 opening day league games. The first time in 3 years we've actually scored in the opening day league fixture, so we're totally on the up. Everything in the garden is rosy. Reaction pod coming to you in association with Jersnet. Check out, you think your weekend couldn't get any worse. Check out Jersnet tomorrow night, 9:30pm, the traditional flagship show, 9:30pm live on the Jersnet YouTube channel, later available across all platforms, and it's going to be Rob and Ben, who are fantastic and do a great job, but unfortunately I'm also going to be on it, so just you think things couldn't get any worse this weekend. But yeah, you can't just turn up for European games, think you're the big I am with the domestic stuff. You've got to put the hard work in all the time, and you will have to put the hard work in anytime I open my mouth tomorrow night on Jersnet. I'm sponsored by Jersnet and also sponsored by your Tees Moot. Your Tees Moot, not your Tees Out, your Tees Moot, because this is 3 straight Saturdays. We're going to have a 5:30 or 5:45 kick-off. I'm watching the telly today. It's going to be even worse. I haven't got your Ibrox. I can't jump into the kitchen and what have you. And I love to get my rotisserie chicken on a Saturday, and it's just ruined. It's just ruined by this, because I get too nervous about the football at the best times, without even knowing the result. And I'm going to do a wee podcast straight after the end of the game, so I'm going to be 9, 10 o'clock at night before I get to sit down at my dinner. If I don't have it, during the game, I won't have half time. That's not, because food's a reward to me. You might have noticed by looking at me. I really relax. My drug. So I like to enjoy my meals, but it was just useless today. I'd have just 2 wee pork chops and some tatties before the game, and I kind of finished that off at half time, because it's sort of I can't concentrate on watching the game. I really need to concentrate, fully absorb myself in the game. But there's no way I'm going to waste it. So I'm wanting your team. It's in development. It's not fully formed yet. We've got an idea. I know how I want it to look. This product you're teasing out, but I'm looking to you for ideas. We've got to keep working on it. I think it's just some sort of bland sustenance, a bit like muesli. It's something you can have that tastes all right. It doesn't taste awful, but it's so boring that you're just knocking it over. So you're not wasting an opportunity to sit down to a good meal. You can wait till Sunday, like I'm going to do now, to have my rotisserie chicken in perfect peace during the day. That's your teas moot when the Rangers are kicking off at tea time. You just can't enjoy it. So let's get some sort of product, some sort of kind of soulless sustenance, a big bag of soulless sustenance that you can use purely to keep you alive. Yeah, folks, my name's Alec Anderson. Hey, now, look at that, did it nearly run you down? End of the drive, the lawman arrives, you make me feel alive, alive, alive. A time and chance is on my side or something. I know what you're thinking. I'm telling you something. I know what you're thinking. Diddle it, 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 diddle it. I deliberately muffed the line where he says, "I'll take my chance," because we didn't take the chances, did we? Yeah, my name's Alec Anderson, folks. I am the pineapple. The pineapple ring on top of the gammon, not a gammon, just the pineapple ring on top, just kind of taking away a bit of the bitterness, but still a big massive hole in the middle, a bit too sweet. And I'm talking to you almost immediately after Rangers went to Fir Park in the first day of the SPFL Premiership season 2025-2026 and completed almost twice as many passes as Motherwell. We had 62% possession in this game, but we registered the same number of shots on target as Motherwell, that's 5, and we scored the same number of goals as them, that's 1 each, and our XG was less than 1, and theirs was is over 2, so we're really cooking with gas, everything's going fantastic, and everybody's going to be really happy. I just remember going to York, I said after the Old Firm game last season, going to York, last Old Firm game last season, I was telling you about how I was trying to complete 100% home attendance for Rangers games, and my wife would go to tickets for Crap's last tape, and on the Saturday night at the theatre in York, and it was Gary Oldman. She'd went to all the trouble to get this, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going back up the road in time. We'll have to have a night in York then, and it was a 12 o'clock kick-off at Ibrox. I'm going to miss another Old Firm game, because I missed one last year for my 25th wedding anniversary, and that was the first I'd missed that you could get access to. Obviously, COVID, we couldn't get in. The grounds were shut, but the first that was available to the public to access, the first one at Ibrox I'd missed, Ibrox or Hampden, in like 25 years, ironically. So it was really upsetting me. I was really worried about it, but I decided I'd be like, Crap's last tape. I know they play really well. That's why she's got my ticket for that. It's Mace Productions. It's less than an hour. So it kicks off at 8 o'clock. Leave York at 9 o'clock. Back up the road for early hours in the morning. Just get a wee kip before, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine to get to the Old Firm. No be a problem. There'll be a problem. And I tell you about me walking across no, I didn't tell you, but I told you about Leeds fans. The Leeds fans I saw. I got to York Station. We got down to York in the afternoon, sussing out best place to park. York train station. York is obviously the train museum, and I went into the car park. Found this car park behind it. Really horrible trying to find anywhere, but it was this one of these car parks, really smart. And you could park for as long as you wanted, and it wasn't too expensive, and it's right in the middle of the town. And so is the York Theatre, the National Theatre York. Well, that's great. That's a Royal Theatre, King's Theatre, Royal York, and that's fine. So we had a wee kind of cup of tea and all that, and then we went something to eat, and then we go to Crap's last tape. We come back out, but the car park was at the other side of the station for the theatre, so you have to go up, and I'm crossing across the bridge, and there's these fellas older than me, guys in their 60s. And they're wearing, I could just see the Red Bull stuff under that. They've got the kind of casual jackets on, but they've got underneath these big dazzling Red Bull t-shirts, Leeds tops, and they've obviously had a few drinks and they're kind of celebrating. And I thought, all right, we're in York. I mean, I'm from North Ayrshire, but I don't support Kilmarnock, I support Rangers. So they're Yorkshire. They're Leeds United fans. They're not going to watch. They're not going to Kit Kat Stadium to watch York City. They're Leeds supporters, and I'd seen someone flashing up on my phone saying that the Leeds had secured a last minute goal against Plymouth Argyle. They'd secured the title. They'd already secured automatic promotion. Joe Rothwell and all that. So I thought that's great. It must have been, these guys have just been quite close. I knew it kicked off early in the morning, or it kicked off like kind of 12 o'clock or something like that, and this was like maybe 3 in the afternoon or something like that. I thought that makes sense. They've just get back for Elland Road. There's been a day of celebrations for them lifting the title, but it wasn't, the game was at Plymouth again, it was at Home Park, and so there must have been something going on at Elland Road. There must be something going on in Leeds. Maybe that was when Parag Marath is pulling the pints for the Leeds supporters, but these boys were all, and there was this other folk talking about, and I just remember walking across the bridge, this bridge that takes you from the one side of York Station into the kind of town side of York train station, and of course there's trains going everywhere. It's one of the major stations. Beautiful station as well, and it's this old-fashioned bridge, and I'm thinking, you can imagine the steam trains not going through here. I think that's probably why the museum's close by, and it's all the Leeds fan. I'm thinking, Red Bull, that's us, Leeds United, Parag Marath. No, he's their chairman. He's going to become our vice chairman, and we're worried about Red Bull taking, renaming Ibrox, or we become RB Rangers. That's not going to happen. But it's always a dangerous thing, a double-edged sword being involved with that. But at that point in time, I'm thinking, yeah, we just need to get ourselves going. We need to get Rangers going again. It was quite weird. And then I'm watching The Dresser, a film I'd seen years ago, and I couldn't really remember that much about it. Tom Courtenay playing the dresser, a wee gay guy that's the dresser for a knight of the realm, an actor, a famous actor who's fictional, but he's based on Donald Wolfett, the real life actor Sir Donald Wolfett. And that's okay, you know what to do, folks. But I hadn't seen it for years, and I thought it was a lot older. This film, it's set in the 1940s. It's set during the Second World War, and Tom Courtenay and my God, which is Albert Finney, fantastic. The two of them are absolutely brilliant. Albert Finney's playing this old actor, this old lovey, who loves the ladies, loves the young girls, and a bit an old pervert, and he uses his position to do naughty things. But Tom Courtenay's kind of in love with him. He's a dresser on that. He's kind of obsessed with them, and at the start, and I thought, I'm going to watch this again because things happened I didn't really remember. I remember reading about this film and the play it was based on, but I didn't realise the play wasn't written until 1983. The film wasn't made until 1983. I think the play was 1980, even though it's set in the war. So I sat and watched this thing. We got to see Gary Oldman, and my wife and I went down, this was April, to see Gary Oldman at National Theatre York. And you never get to know the name of the main actor, the guy who's played it. It's behind the scenes, literally, of a touring Shakespeare company of players during the Second World War, doing all the regional theatres. And the guy is a sir, he's a Knight of the Realm, right? And he hates another Knight of the Realm actor. And this, I read up on, and it turns out this actor is that Sir in The Dresser is based on Donald Wolfett, who hated Sir John Gielgud. And I'm thinking, this is all starting to kind of, I'll tell you what I'm talking. And he's coming across the start of the film. They're finishing off, I think it's, I don't know what play. Lear is the play that features most during the film, King Lear. But at one point they finish up in a theatre. The next thing they're coming across a bridge at a train station, and it's the bridge at York Station, which was just, that's fine. I've been there. It's been used as a location thing. They end up going to the Peace Hall in Halifax. I've been there as well. Touring about the north of England and that kind of thing. So maybe not a major coincidence. Then I'm thinking, that's Sir. And Gary Oldman, after we saw him in York Theatre, it got announced that he'd been knight. After we saw him, it got announced that he became a knight. Then he got knighted. He's now Sir Gary Oldman. I thought that's quite, and it was the York National Theatre. And that's obviously where the Sir in the film The Dresser is coming from, having played at York National Theatre, and they're going to another regional theatre. I'm like, oh fuck, it's the same fucking theatre. That's that's quite amazing. And then it's just, I think Donald Wolfett, he's into Donald Wolfett. He's got a wee role in Lawrence of Arabia, and that did a lot of famous films. But I read up on The Dresser, and the guy who wrote the play was a dresser to Sir Donald Wolfett. And this is how these touring companies worked in the day. Donald Wolfett, he hated John Gielgud and blah blah blah. But the film was only made in 1983. I'm thinking, Withnail and I. It just kept reminding me of Withnail and I. Fantastic one-liners throughout the film, and it's all about lovies and somebody with kind of repressed homosexuality and some not so repressed homosexuality. And there's a bit in Withnail and I, if you know the film, where they're walking through they're walking through the when they leave the gate open, shut that gate and keep it shut. through the farmers' fields to the field that the Bulls in. And they're talking about what name Withnail should change to a stage name. Should adopt a stage name. He says, what about Desmond Wolfe? And Marwood, played by Paul McGann, says to Richard E. Grant playing Withnail, he says, no, that sounds too much like Donald Wolfe. I thought, oh, that's a wee... But then they go back, when they're in the flat, before they leave to go to the country, to have their delightful weekend in the country, they're reading through the trade papers, and Withnail's getting really bitter about not getting any work as an actor, and he says, oh, Gielgud, why doesn't he retire? He says about John Gielgud. The joke is, Withnail and I set in 1969, but it comes out in 1985, just 2 years after The Dresser was made. And so the Sir spiel against another actor knight, even though they're both fictional characters in The Dresser, it's actually Gielgud that Donald Wolfe hated in real life. So this Gielgud getting slagged both ways, getting slagged in the 40s. And the joke is, obviously, Withnail and I, it comes out in 1985, 1986, so they knew that in 1969, Gielgud had already been seen as being too old, and here it was 16 years later, and he was still on the go, and Gielgud famously, of course, got caught cottaging, but was supported by his audience, and it was when it was still illegal in the days. And in Withnail, you're a toilet trader, you're arrested on the Tottenham Court Road and that kind of stuff. They're talking about that kind of stuff, and I thought, it's Withnail and I was written before The Dresser, even though it's set later. But it seems that there's so many kind of crossover references, I suppose it would be, and it's obviously Withnail and I. You're not supposed to know that the I character's called Marwood until you read the script, which if you're right into it, you always will. But then Sir, you never find out who Sir is and then it turns out that Withnail, he certainly has kind of very loving feelings towards Marwood, who leaves him at the end of the film, and these feelings aren't reciprocated by Marwood. He's not homosexual or whatever. I'm not homosexual, Monty. Yes, you are. Of course you are. And then the end of The Dresser, I don't want to ruin it for you, but the Sir, who, Tom Courtenay's character, The Dresser, is obsessed with him, and I love it. He loves him, He's literally gay for him, and he leaves him, and he doesn't reciprocate his feelings for him at all either. There's all these coincidences, and I just thought Gary Oldman, he became it's like I'd lived this actual film, and that. Right, that's 42 minutes. That's a new record. It's because I did start talking about the game there. I did the intro too soon. I was supposed to. So, right, let's get this done over with, Trips. If there's any Celtic fans, they'll have gone now. Or the new Celtic, there's boys who are decent Celtic fans who are always here. They always show up, even when it's a good day for Rangers and a bad day for Celtic. So they're entitled to come on. They're more than welcome. Yeah, that was bad, wasn't it? That was very bad. We're playing all in blue, just an all in blue day. The Bears in the stand and the team. That kind of 1982 tracksuit top thing. It's very 1982ish, isn't it? The way that the diagonal lines. It's like a bed set you got in the early 80s. You probably don't remember the early 80s. The team lineup, the gas is in. Curtis is cut, so that's one change. One change in 3 games from Russell Martin. I know everybody's hating him just now, but this is what we wanted. We wanted a consistent selection process. We wanted to know that we're going to have the same players playing the same positions every week. This was something we moaned about under Philip Clement, and we also wanted pragmatism, physicality. Hefty's too lightweight. So is Ridvan, the head coach. Russell Martin was saying that yesterday. So that's why we've got players playing out of position, because he wants us not to get bullied off the ball anymore. One change to the starting 11 in 3 competitive games, and I thought that was fine. We've also got newly arrived Mikey Moore, Vinderkint. He's sitting in the stand because we haven't got international clearance for him yet, and rumours are piling in that we've come to a deal with go-ahead Eagles of Deventer for Ant-Man, for Oliver Antman. I don't know if the deal's over the line yet. Maybe personal terms have been sorted out, but that's good. He's another winger, attacker type. So it's Ant-Man in the gas. I'm looking forward to that. Ant-Man in the gas playing up front for us. But everything felt good, and Lennon Miller wasn't playing for Motherwell either. He's obviously going to go somewhere else, so Motherwell didn't see fit to have him on the park today. This is going to be easy, isn't it? I never thought once. What a tifo in the away end. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful big tifo there. 2 Greek-sounding fellas in the Motherwell lineup. I don't know about the first one. Maybe he is Greek or Cypriot or something like that, but we know that. I was talking about it last night in the preview pod, Stamatolopoulos. He hasn't played. I thought it'd be just like a thing if we've done a great result in Athens against Panathinaikos, and the headlines today would be, somebody with a Greek sounding name. He's Australian, but the Greeks have got the better of, like, his whole family's Panathinaikos supporters, and You've got the better Rangers. I thought it'd be a late. I thought he'd score a winner on the last minute. I think I said an injury time winner that I thought he'd score against us. So it wasn't him that scored it, and it wasn't a winner. Then it wasn't an injury time. But I just thought, it's a terrible omen. The omen was revealed by Ian Crocker. Why doesn't he retire? He's toilet trader. Ian Crocker was saying that Stamatopoulos, the last time he played in a league game, was that game in December, where we drew 2 each with Motherwell after going 2-0 down, it has to be said, and played even worse, I think, than we did today. But that was the last time he'd played a league game and he scored against the Omens. Oh my God, it took us 6 minutes before we had a shot on goal. And it was a decent one. James Tavernier free kick. It was won by Gassman. Gassman get fouled. He was looking quite sharp as well. So this is like Finlay Curtis gets dropped to the bench basically for the starting 11. And Finlay Curtis has scored 2 home friendlies and that home game against Panathinaikos. He scored our first competitive goal of the season, so it's cruel. But obviously, I think the noises that have been made by Russell Martin are like he's here to be cruel. He's here to be. He'll do it in a decent way. He'll do it in a decent way, but he's going to get the decisions that have to be made will be made, and he obviously feels that Gassman just needs to get fitter, and he can offer us more than Finlay Curtis. I didn't know how good that goal was Gassman scored against Panathinaikos the other night, because as you remember during the BBC coverage, or I think it'd be from Greek television, they were showing you a replay of the VAR decision, why the Panathinaikos goal was onside when we first broke away with the ball. It cuts away from that quickly when Raskin's pelling into the box. I didn't know that he'd played an extended, really extended 1-2 with Gassman, who started to move a lovely back flick. I didn't know that until I saw the Rangers TV in-house footage from the game. So he did fantastically the other night. He definitely deserves a go at starting, even though he played a bit poorly apparently when he started against Middlesbrough in the friendly last week, because he was exhausted with the emotional energy that shot out of him when he scored that goal against Panathinaikos at Ibrox. Gassman has won a free kick, and Tav went close with it. He then bends one. Young Gassman, he bends one just wide of the post after Danilo had laid it off to him, after Nico had fired it into Danilo at the edge of the box. And we looked, it was sharp, it was slick. When we got forward, it was pretty class. Then there's a world-class pass back from Nasser Giga to Butland. It's actually a cut out, but it was quite, it's helter-skelter. It was hear-em-scare-em, the way we were defending, the way we had the ball. It was also an intensity to it, and I think it was deliberate. I think it's definitely as part of the plan. When we moved the ball forward, it was frightening. There's a couple of times in the first half where I was genuinely, my stomach was going kind of fluttery. Not just because I wasn't able to have my rotisserie chicken this Saturday night as usual. It was like, slow down. I'm not ready for this shit. This is too much too soon. I was getting the bends because the few times we did start moving the ball in an attacking manner, it was one touch. It was pacey. It was lethal. It was really, really nice to watch. And I thought, I can see what's happening here. It was 13 minutes. Danilo has one off the bar after a Suter interception, just snapping away at the halfway line, taking dispossession. Motherwell gets the ball up to Danilo, and he kind of a nice cultured crazy shot that goes on at the top of the bar, and then it's my captain, Joe Rothwell corner from the left hand side. James Tavernier scores his 8th goal at Fir Park. He scored against Motherwell away from home more than anybody else, or Motherwell on their own patch more than any other team in his 10 years at Rangers. Goal number 131. It's his 8th goal from a header, according to Crocker. And it's up at the back post. We seem to dominate them at corners, but very muscular. We've got, Giga's up there as well. Even the likes of who was taking a few of the corners, Kieran Dowell's quite a big guy. We had a lot of power, a lot of physicality. Suter obviously in there at corners, and we seem to really dominate them. Bad marking from Motherwell, they're saying, but Tav's up at the back post. It's like he'll alter his game. He's scoring against it. It might be the Challenge Cup into the famous 5 stand at Easter Road. It might be the SPFL Premiership into the Davy Cooper stand at Fir Park, but it's the first competitive domestic match of the season. 10 years apart, Tav is leading the way. He wasn't captain back in 2015, but he's been captain pretty much for years ever since, and he's leading the way. Captain, my captain. And the corner, won the corner from Kieran Dowell forcing it from the Motherwell captain, Paul McGinn. He gets right on top of him when Motherwell are trying, and the Motherwell manager, the new manager, the Danish chap, he knows, he's a former teammate, as we were saying earlier, of our manager, our head coach, Russell Martin. They played together at Norwich, so Russell Martin was speaking about how they'd bumped into each other a few times at coaching things and that. They're obviously just going the same way. It was Motherwell were playing a similar style to Rangers were playing today. A bit taking risks at the back. It's all about having possession. It's all about winning space. It's all about getting the extra man, the free man, and what have you, and getting behind your opponents as they try to pile forward on top of you. And I'm thinking, well, we've got better players. We have got better players, and they should be more experienced already as a team because we've played Panathinaikos home and away. I know we're knackered after the heat the other night, but Motherwell have been playing Stenhousemuir and Peterhead. No disrespect to them or Morton or Clyde, but it's didn't work out like that, did it? It didn't work out like that at all. We should be better, but at this point in the game, it did seem like that, and they're trying to do the same thing as us, where the goalkeeper is in the middle of his box at goal kicks, and you've got your two defenders, one at each side of the 6-yard box, and they're going to knock the ball to the goalkeeper, so one of the centre halves can then come up to the penalty spot, and as the players, the opposition have got pile in towards to shut down the goalie, he gives it to the centre half, who can then turn, and he's already left two opposition players for dead. Didn't work out like that. Kieran Dowell, this is what we're trying to do. He knows the script. He gets in there and he shuts it down. Paul McGinn just has to scoop it out for a corner. And then the corner comes in into our back post, headers that thing in. It was free kicks when he's a young man. It's headers. He's an old man. He's an ultimate athlete. It's he just rises. He rises to the occasion all the time. Like the great actor, he'd done Hamlet for the early part of his career, and now he's doing King Lear as his Rangers career comes to an end. Tragedy, that Shakespearean tragedy. The tragedy is that half the Rangers support kind of hates him. And the tragedy today was that he gave them ammunition by the end of the game. They all did, though. We'll find out exactly how responsible Tav was as time goes on. But yeah, Neil McCann was saying that they're working a semi-block. Rangers are working a semi-block. Is that like cock blocking? Working a semi-block at corners, Rangers, but everything was going down our left-hand side, and yet down our left-hand side we've got three right-footed players, and Aarons and John Suter and Nico Raskin is a bit more two-footed, but he definitely favours his right foot, and it's a problem. But they're putting themselves about, and at one point, the 22nd minute, we're kind of so fast that the referee Stephen McLean couldn't get out of the way. But we're at the edge of the box, edge of the Motherwell box, and we end up getting a drop ball instead. The ball's moving, we're looking good, and his salmon pink jersey, Stephen McLean, is getting in the way. But I saw a laugh to him. Stopping us getting an attack on goal. But there was this, I think the stat came up, it was like a 10-minute spell of 87% possession for Rangers in that first half. And I think for me at the time it was epitomised by a thing that happened in the 34th minute where Motherwell, we hit the ball short coming out of defence. I can't remember the exact what happened because I watched it back after the game and it looked shit. But at the time I thought this is exactly what we're trying to do. We intercepted a ball that we had looked like we'd given away, and because the whole Motherwell team thinks they've got Rangers at the edge of the Rangers box, everybody naturally piles forward. Everybody goes towards the ball, and their teammates come to support. The whole Motherwell team moves forward, and we nick it off them, and we're in. And I suddenly saw why Kieran Dowell was getting a game. I think, and I've heard. Like Joshua Barry, you know that if you're on Rangers social media, if you're on Rangers Twitter, if you're watching proper Rangers podcasts and stuff like that, like Joshua Barry and Adam Thornton, kind of Rangers Review, Heart and Hand, boys are both on Jersnet as well. And there's the fella John Walker, who's big on Twitter, but also he's on the BBC, etc. A real tactics guru. They've been explaining it, but tactics talk, I need to get the dictionary. I need to find it. It's like an argot. It's that kind of slang that I'm not in. I don't know that language. I don't speak that language, so it takes me twice as long to catch up, and I need to get the basic terminology. I need a glossary before I can get in there and understand exactly what they're trying to tell me. But I picked up enough to suddenly see it when I saw it in action today. I know what's happening here. I suddenly get, some of those bits fell into places, like a Duolingo thing. Kieran Dowell did a bit. Motherwell are piling forward, and Kieran Dowell, he did it in Athens as well a couple of times in the first half. He comes running back, So he gets in behind. He's come, and it's blind sides was a big thing. Like Jordan Walker, they're talking about getting in on players' blind side, opposition players' blind side. So he comes from behind the guy, he nicks in front of him and nicks the ball off his toes. And it's that thing, if you've ever played five-a-sides, if you're going forward and you're just looking forward and suddenly, oh, where the hell did that go? You're kind of, your momentum is taking you towards the opposition goal, but suddenly the opposition are in on your goal. I know your teammates are piling forward as well. If somebody's coming towards you and tackling you straight on, you're kind of preparing yourself, you're slowing the game down, or you're ready for the tackle, or everybody's preparing for you to lose that tackle. But if it comes in behind you on the blind side, and we did that a few times today. And what it was when Rangers were doing this thing, the kind of, the barroom Jose Mourinho's like myself were all worried about with Russell Martin. Oh, it's tippy-tappy across the front of the box, it's too risky. But it's deliberately risky. It is a risk. I think by the end of his, he went to maybe by December, and all the supporters, the podders of the teams he's managed before, the different clubs he's managed before, have told us it will take months to bed in. But I think the ultimate plan is we're doing in the opposition box what we're doing in our own box just now. But just because any time Rangers were knocking these, Jack Butland is playing the ball across his own 6-yard box and stuff like that. But the Motherwell players coming in to try, automatically are tempted to come in and try and snap it off us. And that's what we want. Because we're ready all the time to retrieve the ball from our own mistakes. There was no standing about going, oh my God, I can't believe I don't like this new head coach's system. Tav or, especially Nasser and Giga seem to be the best one of really tempting the opposition, going really close to give them the ball, but being ready to take it straight back off them. And with purpose, like that was supposed to happen. They're not surprised by it. They're not put off by it. That's in the first half anyway. It was part of that, and then we would fire forward, and it was quite thrilling at times. It was on point, it was snappy, it was direct, it was so rapid, it was automatisms, and you're thinking, this is what he's been doing. The automatisms that Philip Clement was always talking about. This is what Russell Martin's been putting into them during pre-season. You could see them moving the ball. Players that we've seen playing for Rangers the last 2-3 seasons, moving the ball with a rapidity, one-touch, purpose, directness that I found quite. But it lasted for 10 minutes, basically. It was good for about 10 minutes, and it had got us one goal. We couldn't get any more than that. But at this point in the 34th minute, we seemed to be throwing goal. I watched it back after the game, and it wasn't as impressive because I was obviously getting myself all worked up and in a bit of a frenzy, hoping everything was going to be absolutely brilliant. Like what we're struggling to do in Europe, we're going to do it's going to be much better, going to look much better than domestic football. But no, Motherwell are doing exactly the same thing as we were doing. They're playing that style of football as well. But yeah, half time there was some blue smoke bomb in the top tier of the away end, but no changes. And we did all right for the first few minutes of the second half. The 47th minute, I think Gassimer had acres of space at the back post after Kieran Dill did really well to beat his man down the right-hand side. Puts across the back post. He had time to take it down and have a shot. He has a kind of tame header, try to go across the goal, doesn't go anywhere. Gassimer, and then Kieran Dill at the 49th minute fouls somebody in the right-hand side, in his own right-hand side in our own half, and then he heads the ball from the resultant free kick. I think he heads the ball onto John Souttar's backside, and it breaks to Stamatopoulos, and he's got so much time, but he shanks it, he totally hooks it. But this is the start of him dominating John Souttar and taking over in the second half. Stamatopoulos, who I think, as I say, is Australian, with that very, very Greek name, common thing in Australia. The 50th minute, we've got the by kick routine that we've been a lot better at executing it than Motherwell so far. It goes really wrong for us. Tav is trying to hit it inside. He gets it at the far side of the box. And I think Butland and Giga maybe been involved, and he tries to put it into Joe Rothwell, but Motherwell players are on top of him, coming from behind him, cutting in front of Joe Rothwell, surprising him, and then we're seeing what our system's supposed to do. We're being totally exposed. Tav has to foul the guy. The free kick goes to the back post. I can't remember the name of the Motherwell player, but it's Jack Butland just completely misses the ball in the air, and he's basically missing an open, slight angle, but he's basically missing an open goal at the back post, the Motherwell player, and things are starting to look, they're thinking this is just a wee temporary setback while we think, but no, they had, McGinn had a shot on the angle, Paul McGinn had a shot on the angle from 6 yards out, and Butland saves it, but he can't hold it, it rolls out, and then comes Stamatopoulos. He's too late, Souttar gets there first, and Stamatopoulos nails him, basically. puts one in his shins, and he then wrestles the ball from Soot in a kind of not an aerial challenge, but the ball's bouncing about, and he's out muscling John Souttar, who is playing in the wrong side at the centre half position. He wants to play in the right hand side. He wants to play on the left hand side, but he's playing to the left. But there's a great tackle by Giga as well on Stamatopoulos at one point, but we really are slightly struggling against him in the 63rd minute. Russell Martin has seen enough, and he brings on Lyle Cameron and Dessers for Dio and Danilo. Diamande a bit quiet again in the kind of slightly left-hand side 8 role, kind of left-sided 8 position. It's no working for him. Danilo, he's getting bad reviews from Chris Boyd's and the likes. He's playing himself back towards fitness. The manager seems to like him. I see moments. So you see the goal we scored against Panathinaikos the other night. Danilo is skipping around defenders and getting a couple of shots away, and the rebound from one eventually results in the goal. He definitely does stuff the same as Kieran Dowell, another person that people can't believe he's in the team. I see them doing stuff, but I think I'm just noticing when they do stuff because they don't do enough. And obviously the service isn't as good as it should be to the front men. So the manager obviously was gutting everybody out at the end, or calling everybody out at the end of the game. We'll find out if Danilo was one of them. But Lyle Cameron and Dessers come on for Dio and Danilo. This is the 63rd minute. Within a few seconds, Lyle Cameron has been booked. Has to take out a player in his own half. So in the Motherwell half, as we're kind of pressuring Motherwell in their box, trying to jump on them, a goal kick or whatever it was, and they managed to clear it and they're away. And it's that thing where he fouls and he gets booked for fouling a Motherwell player deep in the Motherwell half. But it's like Stephen McLean has adjusted to how this game is working tactically, and he knows how dangerous that is. Lyle Cameron has just probably stopped Motherwell getting a clear opportunity on goal, which you can't say when it's in their own half. But why the hell don't you get out their bloody way then and just laughing it off when we've got a situation like that in the first half, and it's you, Stephen McLean, who's getting in the way of the ball, and not for the last time. No, his fault. Obviously, that's not why we didn't win the game a day. I'm trying, just bloody annoying. Then Lyle Cameron, I say he gets booked. The moment there's anything, it's a kind of high stakes game where we're both piling on top of each other, running about our boxes. We're playing about with the ball in our own boxes. But if we get through the press, it's gegenpress. If we get through the press, we're in. From the D of our own box, you can be in on the opposition's goal. The way this game's been played out, Cameron, he's a shot in about the 65th minute from the edge of the box. Again, when we've kind of dominated them physically at a corner, and the ball spins out to the edge of the box. It's straight on target. It is on target. It's a bit tame though. He should have probably done better with it, but it's not on him. And it went wrong today. 68th minute, Stamatopoulos, he out jumps John Souttar again. 73rd minute, we have Barron and Bajrami coming on for Rothwell and Raskin and stuff like Dio and Danilo going off. I think the manager's obsessed with double substitutions with the same second initial. What's your second initial, mate? I'll get you on for 15 minutes. Get you on for 15 minutes. That's a pattern that's emerging. Connor Barron, I think he goes in at number 6, and then Bajrami goes at the right-handed 8 position instead of Diamande. And on the left-hand side, you've got who you got on the left-hand side? 8. That was Lyle Cameron moved to that position. I think maybe he'd come on at a 6, but I don't really know how it was working there. But we're starting to change things up. A lot of people objecting to the substitutions, saying they made things, but we were so under pressure. Not under pressure, but we weren't doing a lot at all at that point in time. Motherwell had all the momentum, so we had to try and do something about it. Motherwell broke on us again at the 79th minute. Stamatopoulos, his last action of the game is to be snuffed out by Giga. Nasser Giga, I think he did well for us today. He's probably, if we're going to have a man of the match after a result like that, he is the man of the match. Max Aarons, he hooked a clearance with his left foot and he hooks it infield. This is the problem of having a right-footed player on the left-hand sides. He'd won earlier at the start of the second half where he was actually in the Motherwell half and pushing through on goal, and he just knocks the ball straight out of play, straight at the back, because he's hitting it with his left foot, which is his weaker foot. He's less accurate with that. That's what's going to happen if you're playing him on that side of the park. It's a big statement on what he thinks of the two left-backs we've got at the club just now. Russell Martin, it's to Slattery. He hits the ball straight to Slattery at this clearance with about 8 minutes to go, and you're wondering if we're going to get away with the 3 points. He's trying to clear the ball up the line, and it just cuts infield, and it goes straight. And he had a terrible shot from the edge of the box. Slattery, but they were right in on top of us. It was suicidal football. 82nd minute, Cortez comes on for Gassama. So Oscar Cortez made an unexpected start. The last time we had a horrible draw here at Fir Park was the last time we played here. Motherwell becoming a real bogey team for us. They haven't beaten us once at home or once at Ibrox in each of the last 2 seasons as well. So he made an unexpected start the last time we played here, and now he's coming on here as probably his third choice wide left attacker, if maybe even fourth by the time we get other signings in the door. He doesn't do too much. Dowell's booked for delaying the restart, 84th minute, and then it's an inability to score goals in Scotland once again. It's it's always late. It's always late. We can't get that second goal, and Motherwell don't come out and equalise in the 55th minute or the 65th minute, not even the 75th. It's got to be the 87th. It's got to be just painful enough right at the end, leaving us not enough time to do anything about it. It's a car crash when it's analysed later on at the television. You break it down. Kieran Dowell, I think, actually does quite well tracking back with Longjello, who's the kind of left wing back from Motherwell. And the fella does really well. He's belting up the wing and he cuts inside. Dowell's trying to track him, but he falls on his backside. Longjello, and I can't remember what happens. Is it Conor Barron kind of scoops it clear and it comes off again? It hits off somebody's back end or something like that, and it comes back to Longjello. By that point, Kieran Dowell has just started he's kind of walking away. I think he's getting ready to go in the counter attack again, which is how we're set up, which is what we're supposed to do. So I'm not really sure that he's culpable for leaving his man, but the fella's on the deck as well. But he springs back up and the ball comes to me, just slams it away into the bottom corner. Couldn't really miss, but he's going to have to burn the sloth out of them. Russell Martin, it wasn't hot enough during the week. He's going to have to. Cortez comes back as well. He's back trying to do something, but Dowell's getting the blame, and it's a horrible, horrible goal to lose, a horrible, horrible time to lose it, and it's that thing that's been coming the entire half almost. Bajrami, 2 minutes to go, he finds himself in acres of space on the right-hand side of that Motherwell box. He can only win a corner, and after that he finds himself in space again, and he does really well. Tav and Dowell's a couple of lovely moments in attack. Dowell, when he plays in Bajrami, a wee 1-2, and Bajrami's got the whole, he plays the ball across the front of the goal with anybody to pick out, and he's aiming for Cortez, but Cortez is kind of coming from the back post area, and the centre half gets in there and clears it. Looks like a great clearance, and for a second you thought, equaliser, but you know better than to cheer. 4 minutes of injury time, Tav gets booked for pulling back a Motherwell player, getting away from us again. We're getting the run around in about the 92nd minute. The ref gets in the way of another Rangers attack, and it's a drop ball that kind of ruins our momentum. It's quite amazing to see that happen twice. So maybe we're just dazzling with our movement, the new tactics. Even the referees don't know where we're supposed to be playing. But Motherwell kind of have the last say, and we feel slightly lucky. Not lucky, but they could quite easily score again. You're wanting Rangers to score, obviously, but when the final whistle goes mid-attack, quite strangely as well, you feel infantile for even being annoyed about that, because we had an entire half to do something about the scoreline to build up our lead, and you just realise that we haven't really hardly had any shots on goal at all. Final whistle, and how long will it take Scottish football to suss out Russell Martin's plan? Well, the first half of his first domestic match in charge. I think it's too simplistic an assessment, of course, but the hard work to change Rangers begins now. We could see signs, 10 minutes maybe at best. I think probably maybe half an hour total of Rangers looking like Russell Martin's team, but the undertow is there. And it maybe has to do with being so knackered and having had a really hard pre-season, taking stuff on board. But Motherwell will have been the same. They've got a new manager, and they're obviously learning the same kind of game plan as we've been. And they supposedly don't have the quality of players that we have, and they're able to hold us quite easily. And I think we can see, as long as we can see what he's trying to do, Russell Martin, he's trying to sign players who can win trophies in British football. One's in the stand today, another one's negotiating personal terms, one's injured, and Max Aarons is playing on the wrong side, and so is John Souttar. We're going to have to get another centre half or two in there. The manager comes out, the head coach comes out sounding like an old school manager at the end of the game. He gets his post-match interview on Sky, and he just goes in there too studied on his own players. What's your thoughts on that today? We were lucky to get a point. Luke Shanley in the whole of Scottish football, isn't he going to do it? Oh, that's great. No, you're really candid there. They just keep pushing. You give them anything that's going to make it more grubby, And I think Luke Shanley, he's tried to imply that he'd been using Europe, the efforts in Europe, as an excuse, whereas quite clearly Russell Martin had just said that the players were using Europe as an excuse. They can't do that. I'm not using it. We can't use Europe as an excuse, If they think they can use Europe as an excuse, they're in for a rude awakening kind of thing. It was very disingenuous. It was pretty unpleasant. But his candour just gets him in trouble with the media. It's hysterical now. Sky is just utterly hysterical. I don't mean it in a funny sense. I just mean it's a guy comes out and tries to be open. You can now see why managers are always are being super guarded. But the players had been booed off the park at the end, the away end, the big Motorola stand, the Tom McLean stand, the double decker. They weren't wanting to know. They didn't want a lap. They didn't want the players to come up and applaud them. Everybody, I can feel him seething about Tav's post-match interview, where he's really nice and really open and just saying what he's not a diplomat. He's not a professional speaker. He's just being as honest as he can be. And it's that I'm sick of hearing that for this guy. And of course, Chris Sutton is right in there, piling it on, knowing exactly what he's doing. I think it was a disgrace and it's unacceptable and blah blah blah. It's just wind up stuff. But for a lot of Rangers supporters, it will be unacceptable. I don't think James Tavernier is the problem. It certainly hasn't been over the last 10 years. But I think it just being there over the last 10 years is enough for people. Tav's going to have to move to let Aarons play at right back. We need a change. We need to change a lot more up front. The manager said this as well. But he said, Russell Martin, that he had a word with him after the game, and he was telling him that Cyril Dessers is the only guy there's been an offer for. There's the only player in that dressing room that there's been an offer for from another club with Cyril Dessers, and he was the guy that was shown, the only guy that was shown the proper attitude. And he's only been using him as a substitute, and I think that was another thing. It was this is a problem. You can't help watching Sky because it's going to influence what everybody's talking about. But it's been you'll hear this from other Rangers fans. They tend to parrot Sutton a lot. I'd imagine that some other Rangers fans they go on board with that. But I think the idea was that that's unacceptable. Sorry, I'm trying so hard not to say sweary words and what have you. So, well, why is Dessers not being picked? Why is Dessers not being picked for the start then? If he's the one with the right attitude, almost it's because he's and just say it, Chris. Just say it, Chris Boyd. Because he's been agreeing contract, he's been negotiating stuff with AEK Athens. He's not been training. He's not up to fitness, and that's one thing that the manager is obviously very big on: is players training right and being able to take on board his ideas. And I think that must be why Kieran Dowell's getting the nod. That must be why we've got Suter and Aarons playing out of position, because the other options are just so weak ass or thick that there's no way Russell Martin wants this to happen. And it just always went over the top. Maybe that's too much. He's right what he's saying because it was a slagging for Rangers. But he shouldn't be saying that, so that's another slagging for Rangers. The head coach is getting it wrong. But this is the way he's been operating. It's all part of the plan as far as I'm concerned. Russell Martin, he's been hanging out the players to dry. He doesn't want there. He's been... The way we've started the two home friendlies against Bruges and against Middlesbrough going 2-0 down is because he's put the fringe players in there. You're looking at, I went to that friendly against Club Bruges at Ibrox and I'm like, Robin Propper and Leon King is the centre halves. What the and you quickly realise that it's just, there you go. Let's see how good you are. You're no good enough. We'll see you later. And Hefty playing against Middlesbrough last week, obviously, to show, to make it obvious to the crowd and to Hefty himself, you can't do what I need you to do. You've not got it, mate. So we need to agree a parting of the ways here, and I think he probably knew that it's going to be too soon in the season, maybe too soon after that game in Athens, for the Rangers players to so much they've had to take on board this summer. But no, I think he's also been watching Rangers. He'll have the data. He'll have the videos and all that to watch. He's had 6 months to himself, getting sacked by Southampton at the turn of the year. I don't know how much of that he's known there's a chance he could go to Rangers, but I think he'll know. He'll see the weaknesses. He'll see them being unable to push on. He'll see the laziness, whatever the slackness, and who's responsible for it. And I think he's just been ready to expose it. He knows. He'll know everything about us. It's not that it's not. You see, the one thing I see most commonly on Rangers Twitter after a game like this is these players would get any manager sacked. These players, but the players are changing all the time. You know, it's only Tab. That's why Tab gets so much flack, because he's the only guy that's been there for like any serious length of time. I mean, Raskin and Diamandi, they've been there, you know, longer than this season, and nobody's want to kind of get to chuck them out the door. Not for nothing anyway. Not for no transfer fee. So it is changing all the time, but there is an undertow. It's maybe a culture. They do play really well in Europe, and then they're not doing too well. They slip up in these games, and it's games against teams outside the top two, shall we say, who we struggle against most. But I was talking about the preview pod last night. This is Rangers managers, great Rangers managers, Walter Smith getting beat 3-0 at Fir Park in his first trip to Fir Park as Rangers manager, and what was it, second or third game in charge of the club. He worked it okay in the end, the fella. Paul Le Guen won at Fir Park twice, the only 2 times he went there. He won in his first domestic game in charge of Rangers. And he was a disaster for us as far as everybody was concerned. And we had Dick Advocat get beat at Tynecastle in his first game, and actually lost the game. We went out and drawn there today because we've had it's the third consecutive opening day of the season where we haven't won. It feels particularly awful. And I think we're all now just at the stage of booing and blaming stuff that just isn't related. It's the way we played against Kilmarnock at Robbie Park, and Michael Beale's opening is his only opening day league game, where we lost 1-0. That's probably the worst. That's a far worse performance than today. There was no signs whatsoever of what we were supposed to do. I think we had 2 shots on goal that day, and they barely merited the term shot. And I think Kilmarnock only had 1, and they beat us 1-0. It was an awful game of football. I think that may have been quite exciting for the neutral today, but that's exciting football doesn't mean it's good football. And then with the 0-0 with the Hearts at Tynecastle at the start of last season, there'd been all the nonsense with us not playing out of Ibrox during the summer. The manager obviously getting ready to walk and then being offered a new contract because certain things he was promised hadn't been lived up to. Get a contract extension. Philip Clement, so that's maybe bled into the start we had at Tynecastle. We would go later in the season after the worst Scottish Cup defeat in my lifetime. We would go there in the next game to Tynecastle, play terrible and win 3-1. So we did get better after that, but that was just a really lazy game. Both teams weren't really doing anything that day at Tynecastle. Today there was so much intent, there was so much kind of hints at what we keep saying. As long as we can see what he's trying to do, well, now's the time to cash in those chips. You wrote that check, time to cash it. I think we could see what he was trying to do, and it's just everything that Rangers have been in a negative sense since Steven Gerrard left. Everything we've been negative domestically, all domestic negativity, the shortcomings there, they kind of came back into play today. It does do my nut in that thing where we score a goal and it's like, that'll do. And yet the overwhelming evidence is like, no, it won't. Even a couple of goals won't do. You need 3 or 4, get more goals. I doubt it's as easy as that. It's easy to say from the sidelines, but I want to say thanks to James Muir. James Muir, who got in touch after last night's preview pod, he sent a wee message in saying that it was Vernon Wells. Vernon Wells was the Australian actor I was talking about, who was in Commando, the Arnold Schwarzenegger film from 1985. And I was talking about, he's a big Australian, he's the baddie. He's the kind of evil henchman, and I was talking about he's got the dog collar and the wee kind of string vest that's almost kind of chainmail. He's got the big Freddie Mercury moustache and the leather trousers, and it's how we didn't realise at the time. He's supposed to be the epitome of kind of pure tough. The idea that being heterosexual was tough at all, but there was no kind of conception because there was the 60s when homosexuality was legalised in Britain. So I suppose this is only 15 years later, really, 15, 16 years later, we had no idea. This was if you weren't actually gay, if you weren't part of that subculture, which it had to be really subculture because the law was driving it underground, you would have no idea that that's what gay guys dressed like. There's a leather bar thing going on. I think you thought every gay guy looked like John Inman and Are You Being Served? So it's only like I was talking about how we look back now, and it's like that guy. That's what a camp outfit he had on. We didn't realise it at the time, but James got in touch today to tell me the guy's name is Vernon Wells, and he's an Australian actor. And so I immediately looked him up. He told me he's in Weird Science, which I watched about a million times in my late teens or my early 20s, and I don't remember the guy. I remember the fella who ends up, he's his big brother in Weird Science, a big bully brother, and he's in Aliens, the second Aliens film. The second Aliens film is absolutely brilliant. He's a good laugh, but it was Inner Space and a few other films that he was in that I'd watched, and I don't remember him in anything except Commando. So I looked him up today, Vernon Wells. He's 75 years old, and apparently he lost everything in the LA fires because his house was in the Palisades. And he just lost everything. He's one of the guys at Comic Con, because the films he was in, he's always going to Comic Con and stuff like that. So hopefully that'll keep him going. It's quite a small Wikipedia entry because he's not a properly famous actor, maybe kind of bit part actor. But he lost everything. At the Palisades, that's the bit where Neil Macaulay, played by De Niro, stops to convince Amy Brenneman's Edie to come with him to New Zealand. Just come. Forgive me for being a bank robbing murderer. Come to New Zealand, an amazingly emotional moment, because it was the original version of Heat was called LA Takedown. That was one of the names for it. So it's an LA film, even though the actual real life bank robbery or incident that it's based on took place in Chicago. But he's taking Edie to New Zealand. She's going to go to New Zealand, and there's up in the Palisades, big Vernon Wells from Australia down under, and there's no kind of factoid box on that Wikipedia entry telling you all his spouses and how many kids he has and that, but it just said, before I knew that he'd lost everything in the fire, I was going to have a laugh about the fact that the line in Wikipedia said that his latest wife is Japanese. Just thought that it sounds like he's had about maybe 15 to 20 years of people saying, by the way, I didn't realise you were massively gay. You're a gay icon, the way you were dressed in Commando, and he's, I'm just, and whether I'm going to prove myself, really prove that I'm not, I'm going to marry a woman from every corner of the earth, and my latest one's Japanese, just get you on. But no, there was no info on spouses, and I think he's trying to compensate for his leather vibe he was going all out to. But Rangers have been out and proud in Europe for years now, since about kind of 2018-19 season, but we're singularly unfabulous and very, very taciturn in this kind of our domestic situation in our home, in this closet we've got in the house, and Russell Martin is going to have to find some way of making us come out of that closet and be very flamboyant, very fabulous, and just do it in Scotland as well. And that game today wasn't the beginning. He's talking about the players coming in early for training on Sunday, and I think that's Tav was talking about that. They're going to go in for an extra session tomorrow. That's not the start of the rebuild. It starts with that game today. That was all part of it. That was us literally crossing that bridge. We have come to that bridge with that game today. We've started crossing it, just like the bridge at York Station, which features in the dresser, and which I crossed, and I saw those Leeds United fans walking the other way, having had the same having the Parag Marath treatment that underwhelmed them right at the beginning, and by the end it was taking them towards the honours, knighthood, honours, stuff like that. It's a brown bin tonight, folks, and I'll see you on Jersnet tomorrow night, Sunday night, 9:30. Thanks, troops. Cheers.